Legend has it that whoever can win the divine sword's approval will inherit its power and become the next king. But for 300 years, no one has been able to get anywhere near it. When the king heard about this, he immediately held a sword-pulling contest. The winner would not only get a reward of 10,000 pounds of gold but could also marry the beautiful princess. As soon as the announcement was posted, crowds flocked to the arena. Amazingly, the moment contestants tried to approach the divine sword, they were instantly launched 800 meters away. Just then, a sorcerer who truly believed he was the chosen one stepped forward. He used all his strength to break through the sword's barrier, but barely managed to take 2 steps forward before he couldn't go any further. In desperation, he immediately drank a potion and forced himself to take a 3rd step. This behavior enraged the divine sword, which instantly summoned a golden dragon and sent him flying as punishment. Witnessing all this, the crowd trembled in fear. Next, a young wealthy man, attracted by the princess's beauty, decided to try pulling the sword to marry her. It turned out he came from the country's most prestigious sword-fighting family. He easily reached the 3rd level. However, at that moment, the sword's overwhelming pressure suddenly struck. Just when the young rich man was about to fail, his butler channeled energy into him, and with this power, he stepped onto the 5th level. At this point, the divine sword was enraged again and released even stronger pressure. Unwilling to accept defeat, he immediately ordered all his servants to transfer their life force to him. This power barely pushed him to the 6th level. As the divine sword unleashed its tremendous power, the young wealthy man was completely defeated. Surprisingly, the king thought this young man showed great promise and announced he would marry the princess to him. But the princess was very unhappy. She wanted to pull out the divine sword herself to gain the freedom to choose her own marriage. So she rushed onto the stage, ready to master the sword. But the sword's power was beyond mortal ability. She collapsed as soon as she reached the 3rd level. The young wealthy man mocked the princess for being too ambitious, but the princess still wouldn't give up. She decisively drew her own sword in defiance. She continued approaching the divine sword. When she reached the 5th level, she had no strength left to move forward. In her despair, a beggar who was moved by her wanted to help the princess gain the right to choose her own husband. But the young wealthy man laughed at the beggar for being too ambitious, and even the princess felt this man couldn't help her. But the man didn't care about any of this. He quietly walked through the crowd to the princess's side. At this point, the young wealthy man got very angry and accused the man of cheating. But the man ignored him and walked step by step toward the divine sword. Suddenly, the divine sword summoned the dragon again. Everyone thought this man was about to be punished. However, the next second, the dragon vanished into thin air. Then the man climbed the final step, and finally, the divine sword recognized him as its true master. The young wealthy man couldn't accept this, so he ordered his men to forcibly seize the divine sword. But the man, now wielding the sword's power, easily defeated them all. In the end, the man handed the divine sword to the princess, and she completely regained her freedom.